All right, we're going to go and get started here, guys. Appreciate you being here with us tonight, and look forward to sharing some things with you all. I'm actually very excited for this format and to get the opportunity to just kind of talk and answer questions specific that people are asking out there. I've received over 60 questions. Obviously, won't have time to answer them all in real depth, but I'm hoping to at least hit on every one of them. Then there's a few at the end that I will actually spend some more time on later, just because I do think this is going to take a little bit of time to go through all of these. And then provide some feedback opportunities in the future. Before I get into questions, though, just a couple of housekeeping things to remind you all about, or just to let you know. First of all, safe sport training. Second is the fall fundraisers going on right now, and then there's going to be an opportunity to offset some account balance with some other fundraising stuff. Then we'll get into the questions and topics as we go. First of all, Safe Sport is a organization that oversees keeping the coaches, athletes, teams, members safe as an organization, but also safe for the athletes to train and compete in adult supervision. As an organization, we do see this as a priority for us. We think that the more people that we get involved with understanding and being educated with some of the concerns that come up throughout the course of life, the better we are protected. So we do want everybody to consider taking the safe sports training for parents. It's a course that for us to be safe sport certified, we have just about everything else we need. The one thing missing, actually, we have two things. One is the parents. We need at least 10% of our membership to be able to submit certification. We also need that from athletes too. So there's an athlete portion as well. And again, the more people, whether it's parents or athletes that have the training and just the educational part of this safe sport organization, the better we are to be able to operate in a safe environment. So we currently need about 20 more parents. You can be from the same family. So if you have a spouse and you want to open up two computers at the same time, you can crank through it pretty quickly and go through the process there. It does take about 30 to 40 minutes, and you can do it on your laptop or your phone, however you want to do it. You do it well with some headphones on where you're sitting there watching practice and whatnot. The way you do this is make sure you log into your USA Swimming account, not Team Unify. Click on Education, and then you'll choose the Parent's Guide to Misconduct in Sport, how to recognize it, and how to ensure that you understand what the parameters are there. And make sure that you're connected to your swimmer that's on OCCS. If you have a spouse account, so if one spouse has the kids on it, you can connect as a contact. So one of the things you'll see on your USA Swimming account is there's a little link there that says add a contact. And if you are added as a contact, if a spouse is added as a contact, it's easier to be able to see everything and connect to the athletes that are in your family there. Fall fundraisers going on right now through the beginning of December. Donations are tax deductible with this. Just send us a note and we can send you a nonprofit letter or a deduction letter. There are levels that you can get to contribute to your account to give some credit towards team travel, to entry fees, even to your tuition, next year's registration, things like that. Basically, anything that comes up on your account that can go against. The goal is to contribute towards your swimmers or your swimmers group goals. So each group has some goals, and they'll be coming out a little bit more specific with what those are. I gave the example last week in the newsflash about the national training group, and it starts off as 150 50s a butterfly on 50 seconds. And if they get to a certain level, then they can get a little bit more rest on those. If they get to another level, maybe they can use some fins on some. If they get to another level, that might come down to 150s instead of 150. Might even come down to 25s, all the way up to the highest level, which is playing water polo, having a fun day, and kind of kicking back a little bit. You can access that. There's been lots of links that are sent out by Coach Kelly, but OCCSrallyup.com/fly2funds. The other one, and I'll have some more information about this if you're interested, is Jiffy Lube Live has some opportunities to do some fundraising. Basically, you operate some of the concessions during the events that they have, and that money can be passed directly on to you through us. So us as a nonprofit organization will take the money in, and then we can put it onto your account. An interest form we'll send out tomorrow that you can fill out, and just put interest in there that you're interested in it, and we will have more meetings about that and more details about that as it goes. We're going to start with statistics, and as I go through these subjects, I want to preface that I so appreciate the questions, that people are bringing up and sharing. A lot of times, these questions either go unanswered, and sometimes the answers can be found in websites or other parents or maybe even other teams. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to answer these questions from a swimming perspective, but also as a coach perspective, a parent of swimmers perspective, as a longtime athlete in a sport, to be able to share where we are as a program. I realize there's a lot of different narratives out there, and there's a lot of different discussions that happen outside of our swim team. Parents on other programs, you compare and contrast, and there's a lot of different interpretations of what we do versus other teams. And so hopefully today I can kind of share some of the things that we are. I will compare us to a couple of organizations just to give you some specifics, and also connect some of the dots of why we do think we have a pretty dang good system going on here. One of the big elephants in the room, or one of the things that I've heard a lot, and I know it's been talked about quite a bit outside of my office and other places, is we did lose some swimmers this year. And one of our goals of talking and sharing and opening up these conversations and answering these questions is to hopefully help to bridge some of the concerns that people have, and also show that the narrative that's out there from other teams is not necessarily the correct narrative. So I'm going to start with the statistics here. First of all, our membership. This is kind of a busy chart here. This is our membership based on the levels of the groups that we have within our program. Our total number, we did go down this year. We're at 505. I'm sorry, we were at 496 last year. At the end of the year, we were at 505 athletes. So we are down nine athletes. The good news is that, well, I don't know if there's any good news in losing swimmers or having less swimmers, but one of the promising things is we have a lot more developmental athletes in the program, from our med lead to advanced and pre-senior. Those are the entry-level programs that we have in a competitive swimming. Those numbers are up, so the foundation is strong, and we feel like we have a pretty good future ahead of us. One thing to also keep in mind is that back in 2023, we were up at 576 swimmers, so we lost a pretty significant number from 2023 to 2024. One of the reasons for that is that we did expand our non-competitive programs. So a lot of our swimmers that weren't competing in swim meets, we now have an opportunity for them in our speed squad or high school preps and things like that, that in the past were just rolled into our competitive program numbers. There's several websites, and the reason I'm going through statistics is that there were a number of questions about statistics and where we stand within the program with different measuring sticks. A lot of websites out there that offer rankings and comparisons between swimmers, between clubs, between colleges and countries, even the LSCs and different ways of comparing things. But each of them have a different way of comparing, and you kind of have to look into the deep metrics of it to see really what they're measuring. Some of them have access to everything, and I'll say USA Swimming's data has access to most everything that is pertinent to USA Swimming. However, some of them, like Swim Cloud, Symmetry, and Swim Stats, although they have a lot of good statistics in there, they're not 100% accurate within USA Swimming, because they could have summer league teams or summer league times in there. They could have meets that aren't necessarily USA sanctioned in them. So some of those stats could be a little bit misleading. But nevertheless, there's a lot of ways to compare and contrast, and be able to see where we are and where we've been and what we can do to get better. The virtual club championship is through USA Swimming, and it's been the most reliable. It has had its challenges the past couple of years. In fact, just this year, it was very delayed with our results being put into it. It's just about, I think there's one more meet that's not showing up just yet from this past month. But overall, it's been a pretty good, pretty consistent, accurate showing of where we are. It looks at just swimmers from age 11 to 18. USA Swimming a while back decided that 10 and under performances, although significant and important, they don't show the whole picture of the progress of a team. A lot of times the 10 and under swimmers, as we know, that they can come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, and a lot of times the most advanced swimmers are not necessarily ones that are a result of training, but they're a result of just being bigger and stronger at the time. So that changes a little bit more as they get older, and so the training of the program starts to be shown. This takes into account the top 2 swims in each event. 11 12s do the hundreds of each stroke, and then the 50 freestyle obviously too. And then 13 and over does the hundreds and 200s of each stroke, and then all distances are free. There's no 100 or 1,000 free or 1650 to 1200, but all the distances are free for everybody else. The 1200s or 11 12s even are accounted for. So even looking at this, and this will relate a little bit to that IMX scores and having kids be doing all the longer swims. This is a big reason why too, is that we want the kids to be proficient in the longer distances, because that is what is used for virtual club championships. There's a max of 4 results for each swimmer. It does require a lot of swimmers to swim a variety of events, so that, there's opportunity to get the points from different events. And generally, the more swimmers you have, the easier it is to fill events, and the easier it is to have that depth behind to be able to fill in with points and whatnot. So for us, we have had a little bit of fluctuation in our points. In 2020, we were at 212,000 points. We went up to 222,000 in 2021, to our peak of 224,000 in 2022. And then we dropped a little bit. And mainly I would attribute this to some of the numbers that we had dropped down just a little bit. But there's also in 2024, we dropped down a little bit more. So what I do in making sure that number one, we don't want to see the numbers go down overall as a team, but also keeping in account that the more swimmers you have, the easier it is to get a lot of points. And so we do also look at it as the points per swimmer, which makes it a little bit easier to see and make sure that we're not dropping way off. And even last year with the 70 less swimmers in there, we had a better points per swimmer, 428.8 points versus 381 the year before. We get compared a lot, and I realize that, and we are in a competitive environment, and we've got a lot of other teams in this area, and there's options out there for people to choose. And so a lot of times, you've also got friends and neighbors that are on other teams, and we like to compare and contrast and see how we're doing and see where we stand with everything. We get compared a lot to really the largest team in the United States, because we just happen to share a couple of pools with them and compete for the same swimmers that join our program. Their team is very large, and I will give them that, and I will give them that they've had some good success with that. But they also have 4 times the number of athletes that they have, and quite a few larger number of sites and facilities and things like that. We're built on offering what we believe and statistics show is a higher level of success per athlete. And that's what we're driving towards, is that we don't necessarily want to be that team with 2,000 athletes. We want to be a team that offers every child the opportunity to be their best. And I will say that, and I've got stats to show this as well, swimmers that have transferred have had success, certainly, but in comparison to the swimmers that stayed, they have not outperformed them. And I've got a number of ways that I'll show that, not today, but in the future. Virtual club championships. So again, points per swimmer is kind of what I look at. And when you compare us to Nation's Capital, which is the other big team, and I realize that has a lot of stars and stripes on it and all that kind of stuff that people look at and bright shining stars that they're attracted to. Their points per swimmer have fluctuated, and I approximated their swimmers from 2020 to 2023 because I don't know what those are. I do know what they were last year, which is 1,924 athletes, and their score, I think they were second or third in the country of 278,000 was their points. So their points per swimmer was about 144.97, whereas ours, with our 505 athletes, we're about 428 points per swimmer. So we look at this as that although we don't have the numbers to support getting up there to the number one in the country, we do have good number of points per swimmer that we are bringing forward. Another example is at the 1200 championships. This is just kind of a snapshot of the points per swimmer. And again, we brought 28 swimmers to the meet this past summer. Our points per swimmer was 34.91, and that compares to these other four teams that are on here. NCAP is a long ways down between PM and them, but goes down 18 points. So although there's a lot of very high level athletes there, there's also a lot of numbers, and they play the numbers game. So when you're looking to be a part of a program where your child is significant, I hope you're looking at Aquan Swimming as that boutique and that opportunity for them to shine here. We're always looking for ways to improve. Our programs do change, and we adapt and we adjust as we go along, mainly because we know that there are new ways, innovative ways to do things. And I will say that our philosophies have solid foundations, but we are always looking for ways to improve. We're looking for things that we can do to offer better experiences, better coaching, better relationships within our program. And just like we are doing today, and we hope to do a lot more in the coming days and coming in the future, is opening up communication and making sure that there's no questions unanswered, there's no concerns that left unanswered there. Next, we're going to go through just a bunch of free fire questions here. And like I said, I've had 60 questions. I narrowed it down to summarizing about 30 of them, that a lot of them overlap with the same sort of subject matter. So I'll hope to hit some of those at the same time. So if you don't see your specific question there, it may be mixed in with some of the others. One of the things I also hope to do, I haven't played with this enough on YouTube, but I do have a guy that knows YouTube quite well, is to index this a little bit so that it's easier to come back to, and hopefully we can share individual questions a little bit differently, so it's not just one big 45-minute or an hour-long conversation here. So first up, is the processes. So one of the questions that came up is, why don't we require members to volunteer? And the question was also prefaced with, there's a lot of people, or there's a few number of people that are always volunteering, always timing, or always being a meet marshal, or always being an official, or always there to help when the team asks. Whereas there are a number of people that don't ever volunteer, that sit there and wait till the last second, or maybe they don't even step forward, and the folks that are volunteering a lot have to be the ones that step forward. So I get the concern, and I certainly want to find ways that we can spread the wealth, if you will, with having the opportunity to volunteer. One of our actually we back in the day, I've been here since 2008, and we've gone through a number of different ways to promote and encourage volunteerism. But we do preference that members not be pressured. We don't want to expect them to have to be there. We went through a long time where, and I think we still are there. We have some of the most committed families and members in this organization that step forward to volunteer when they're asked. And I want to continue to be that way, and not require volunteering, which kind of doesn't really line up correctly with the term, but certainly want to also spread the wealth and make sure everybody has the opportunity. So I'll leave that there. Hopefully the message gets out that we need more people to volunteer, and it's not just the same people volunteering every time to time. We'll say that we have several retired swim members that come to help us as officials. I mean, we've got a couple that haven't had swimmers on the team for the past 5 or 6 years that come in, and they volunteer their whole weekend to be able to support aqua swimming, to be able to support your athletes be there. And they're probably the most frustrated with this, is just that sometimes it's hard to get someone to line up and be a timer for the 2 hours of a session when they're taking their whole weekend away from their families to be there to support your kids, and not just because their kids are there, but because they in their heart feel like it's a great service to helping out something that was impactful in their lives. We do also try to incentivize in several ways. We have some things that we do is for officials, and then we've done some things in the past with raffles, giving away T-shirts, things like that for timers. And we hope to continue to do that as well, to hopefully incentivize people to want to be there to help out. Just kind of statistic-wise, and this is kind of to brag on our officiating crew. We have an amazing group of officials that have helped out with us being able to run our own swim meets and do a lot of things outside of the cookie cutter swim meets that are out there. And we'll talk about those in a second. But aqua swimming, so we per athlete or per swimmers, we had the highest number in Potomac Valley swimming. We have per official. We have 8.8 swimmers compared to Nation's Capital has 17. Machine has 30. Potomac Marvin has 30.5 swimmers per official. So we're doing very well. And like I said, there's a lot of people that are very dedicated and help out in a lot of different ways. But I do know there's needs to spread the wealth a little bit with some things. Another question that came up is what are the lane allocations per level? What's the coach to swimmer ratios that OCCS maintains? Certainly, this is the way we set things up, and when we are allocating the number of athletes that can register for each one of the groups. We realize there are times when lanes get shifted on us, pool schedules get changed, a coach doesn't show up or is sick or whatnot, that these ratios aren't always exact, but this is what we are working towards. The medley group is 6 swimmers per lane, advanced is 7, AG1 is 7, AG2 is 6, pre-senior and senior is 6, senior selected pre-national is 5, and national training group is 4. We base that on a couple of things. One is the ability for a coach to see all the kids at once, and two, that kids aren't getting run over on doing 100 freestyle or 100 swim. So, for example, if an NTG swimmer is going 5 seconds apart, we know that nobody can go under 20 seconds in the 50 freestyle on a regular basis. So we know we've got some space there for at least 4 swimmers per lane. Whereas, when we start getting to kids that can swim about 30 seconds per 50, we know we can't put more than 6 swimmers in a lane in those there. So that's kind of how we do that. The coach to swimmer ratio in all the groups, all the different levels, we're trying to keep the numbers under 16 swimmers per coach. And in general, we do a pretty good job of that overall. We know there are times, and we know there are places where we need some additional help, and we do have people coming in at certain times to be able to help keep those numbers under that. But that's generally what we're looking towards in a max per coach. And I will say one of the other things, another statistic from USA Swimming, OCCS was one of the top swimmer to coach ratio teams. Now, this doesn't mean that's 19 swimmers in the water per coach. That just means that's how many coaches we have per swimmer. So there are coaches that coach multiple groups, for example, and we know that for these other teams as well. But just our coach to swimmer ratio is pretty strong compared to these other teams here. GroupMe policies. Some coaches have a GroupMe message just for swimmers, and why is that? So GroupMe is an app that's used to communicate in masses, and it's a relatively easy to use program to keep athletes updated, and also there's some parent groups that have GroupMes to keep them updated as well. For the coaches, one of the things that we're trying to provide the athletes with is a little bit of ownership and a little bit of ability to communicate to their parents what's going on. We know that we need to communicate to the parents and be able to share what's going on. But there's also times when we're trying to get the kids to take that ownership and understand that, if we're going to talk about the swim practice, and we've got some things that we want the kids to bring to practice or do at practice, or we want the kids at a certain place um, during swim meets or whatnot. It's a quick little way to communicate to them, and we want that ownership on the athletes at those upper ages, especially starting at 13 and over. So one of the things that we do, and this is a policy of ours, that we follow USA Swimming's guidelines on this and safe sport and athlete protection policies. We have to have another adult on the messaging, and every one of those should have another adult, whether it's a coach or a parent, on there for communicating between the athletes and coaches. It's also a group message. It's not going to any individual child. And one of the things, just for an education side of it, for parents to note, is that anytime a coach contacts your swimmer, they should also include you on that text message if they're texting, or a GroupMe message if if you're sending a message directly to your athlete there. And if not, please do let me know, because they are required to do that, and keeping open communication with an adult on those messages as well. So there's some of our groups have attendance expectations, and this gets a little bit misinterpreted in some ways. Certainly hope to clarify some of that here, but I'm not going to go into too deep a detail. But we are trying to help these athletes become the best they can possibly become, number one, not just as athletes, but also as students and in everything that they do. We're also helping them to prepare for the commitment that they have when they go to college, the commitment they have when they have a job, the commitment they have when they have a family, that to be there, to be present, to understand that there is a need for them to be there, not just for themselves, but also for the people around them. Our coaches take an interest in helping each one of them do this. And so they do take a special interest in knowing that the kids are not just missing practice because they're staying at home playing video games, or not missing practice because they just don't feel like it, or they're a little bit sore, they're a little bit tired. We want to help push them through those challenges. We know that those things are going to come up, and so we do want to know what's going on, and notification of those absences beforehand, because a lot of times during the day, especially on a day off of school, things can change a little bit with the motivation of wanting to come to practice. We want them to be there, and we want to keep them accountable to that. Also, practices are built around every swimmer being at practice. So when we set up a practice, and I'll take the national training group for example, we have 15 athletes in there, and we have training partners. We have lanes that we assign. We have different practice goals that we have for each of those lanes and each of those little groups in there. And if we know someone's not going to be there, then we don't want that one or two other swimmers to be affected by them not being there at practice. So we can maybe modify things so at least that one swimmer that was supposed to train with that other swimmer's not there, they have something that they can feel like they're connected still with the rest of the group, and not just out on the island there training alone. So there's a lot that goes into the thought process and making sure that we have training partners and things like that. So our assumption is everybody's there. So we do want to know if your swimmer's not going to be there in advance, because that helps us plan for the athletes that will be there. And then excusing absences. Again, whatever the reason is for missing a practice, we don't want to be in the business of saying that's a legitimate reason or that's not a legitimate reason, which is why we just don't have the variables of marking someone absent that's excused versus marking someone absent. We just see it as a missed opportunity. And we want those kids to be a part of those opportunities to train and get better. And we know that a big part of training and big part of getting better is being there at practice. And so we do have that as the expectation. This is a big question here. Why were there swimmers that left OCCS this past year, and how do we keep them together? We have nothing to hide with this. I'm willing to talk through all of this. It's a pretty deep conversation, and there's a lot of things that we are looking at to ensure, and including this conversation right here and this opportunity to speak to you guys, and hopefully bring in other coaches and other people to have conversations like this, to be able to connect the dots, because I think there's a lot of things that were left unanswered. There were some things that were blatant lies in some ways that were said about aqua swimming. There were things, there's a propaganda out there of saying that the program is not as good as the other program, or this team or this coach or whatever is not as good. And those are just blatant lies. And I got stats to prove it, and I hope to do that over the course of the next few months, because I do think we have a great thing going, and certainly want everybody to stay part of this program for their whole swimming career. So with that, like I said, I will go into more detail on that, but that would be a long conversation. I didn't want to spend too much time with that because we're already about halfway through what I wanted to get through here tonight. So we're going to jump into swim meet questions, and a lot of really good questions here regarding our competitions, why we do them. So I'll jump into these. OCCS meets only have a few teams join at the competitions. Why aren't other teams attending our meets? Well, let me start this off. We have 3 different types of meets. We've just gone through our foundation meets. Those meets are for 100% of the team. All 500 members of the program get an opportunity to have racing experiences. And so to bring 500 swimmers and have them swim all the events that we swam into any other meet would be a meet in and of itself. And so it is difficult for us to stay together as a program, keep the coaching staff on the pool deck with one group there, and be able to get all that stuff done. We also know that these are foundational meets. They're opportunities. Some of the younger kids and some of the newer kids are getting best times, but they're just a racing experience. Their opportunities are training. So we don't feel like there's a need to go out and spend money to travel down to other places or do a whole lot here, but just to get them an opportunity to get up and race, learn the system, learn how to react and overcome some of the challenges that happen throughout the course of the swim meets, and just prepare for what the bigger meets are. So we had these 4 foundational meets. There was a couple of teams that came in for the older kids that we had to compete, but that was only because those sessions could allow it. So the other sessions, we wanted to keep them pretty small. And I think I heard a lot of good feedback on that from folks, that it's a lot nicer to go to a meet that's only a couple hours long versus 4 to 6 hours long, which is what I see some of these other meets lasting that people are going to. Coming up, and speaking of 4 to 6 hours, we do have some bigger meets coming up, and they do offer more outside competition, but it does become a larger operation. For this coming meet, the Fall Fest, we have, I know at least 4 other teams coming, and should be a good level of competition there from outside our organization. But then with that being said, I do believe we have a good foundation of opportunities to compete against our own athletes as well. And so these invite meets, there'll be this one. There's one, the Fall Fest the Winter Wonderland in January, and then we have President's Day, and there's another meet in there too that'll be offered as an invite to bring other teams in. But regardless of if other teams come or not, we feel like we offer a pretty dang good environment for the kids to learn how to compete and grow from the sport. And then our third level of meets are the championship meets, and those are ones that have specific qualifying. For varying ages, maybe based on the levels of the group, maybe based on the ages of the swimmers. There may be qualifying, there may be dequalifying. They have specific criteria. The first of these is in December with the Winterfest. Now we have opened it up this year to offer to everybody, only because the meet is open to everybody. And we consolidated what we did in the past, which is we would offer a meet in Stafford, and we would offer this meet in Richmond. We consolidated that and said, you know what, let's bring everybody together. And from what I see, I think we're bringing, I can't even remember the numbers, but it looks like over 200 swimmers that we're bringing down to Richmond. So it should be a good, fun team atmosphere that we can bring to a holiday festive event there. Another question that came up is, why do we choose to travel to Florida for some of our championship meets? This came about, it's been, for the age group side of it, certainly for the senior side of it, we're traveling to the championship meets in Orlando and other places to get to bigger and higher levels of competition outside of our LSC. But the age group side of it just started probably about, it's been about 12 years ago that they started offering these bigger age group meets. And this is going to relate to another question we have about Eastern zones, and that the end of the summer meet used to be all the top athletes would go to this Eastern Zone meet. They would travel with the Potomac Valley Swimming as opposed to with Aquan Swimming, and they would be coached by Potomac Valley Swimming coaches that are decided in a roundabout way to lead each of the groups, and then into the summer and whatnot. One of the things that what was left out with that is that our coaches didn't get an opportunity to finish up a season with their athletes. So they would say, "All right, bye. We'll see you in 6 weeks," because they aren't the coach at this coming meet, and then got a 4 week break before school starts or before swim season starts. So it left a little bit of that void in the finishing of the season. So one of the things we want to do is travel together. We want to provide those experiences. I know I've told the story before. I grew up in Alaska, and every swim meet that we went to was a travel meet. Once a month, we get on a ferry for 12 hours or 12 to 16 hours to travel to the swim competition and compete there. And then we would travel, and we'd stay in families, and then we'd come back 3 or 4 days later back to our home and go through that again the next month. So I think travel is such a unique way that swimming and traveling through swimming, traveling for competition specifically, to learn how to travel for business, travel with expectations, but also create those memories that can't be created in just the normal bubble of swim meets that we have here. The memories and the pictures and everything that I see come back from those meets, it certainly looks like it's worth the investment with what it creates for the swimmers there. And there's great competition. We know that going down there that we're going to get other teams from all across the country, and it's always nice to see other teams. That's one of the things that gets lost a little bit, is that when we go to the same meets over and over again with the same swimmers, as far as from other teams, sometimes we rank ourselves already and we say, "Oh, that kid's going to swim faster than me, and I'm going to get this place," and that kind of thing. Going outside of our bubble of swimming in this area can help to open up the possibilities and see that obviously there's a lot of fast swimming all over the country, but maybe a way to redefine themselves outside of their groups here. Swim results aren't showing on some of the sites. Why? So there's been several swim-specific sites that have come online. Obviously, I talked about that before. Their process for obtaining the results is not the same for all of them. Some of the sites will go fishing for the results. They'll go on to USA Swimming or Potomac Valley Swimming or wherever and pull those results in based on someone that just may have some knowledge that that's where the results are. Others, they require you to actually send them in. So since these have all come online in the past few years, a lot of them, it's hard to keep up with them all to send the results in. It's not a time-consuming process, but it is a couple steps that have to be done to make sure they get the right results. Anyway, some results can also come through. I know for our meet that we had, there was one result that was not showing up correctly, so I had to resubmit that to USA Swimming, and then also had to resubmit it to 3 other organizations too to make sure their results were updated. So it does get a little bit time-consuming because they're not all pulling from the same data that's out there. That's why USA Swimming is generally the most consistent, but they have had, and especially in the month of October, they had a lot of issues with their results that we're posting and keeping up with that also. It seems to me more accurate now. Certainly, if you have any of these sites that you go to on a regular basis and you're like, I still don't see those results, don't be afraid to send me an email. Just ping me and let me know, and I can go through there and just make sure that they are sent to the administrators if they accept them there. Winterfest travel. Can you summarize the trip? So first of all, the deadline for registering for the meet is registering to travel for the meet is tonight. The entries were actually due last night. So if you have not submitted entries yet and you plan to go, make sure you talk to your coach immediately, because I got to send those entries in tomorrow because we have such a large group going. I want to make sure we get our spot secured, and there's no question that we're in the meet. And then the travel aspect of it, the swimmers that are 11 and over from the age group champs can travel. Registration deadline, like I said, is tonight. We'll depart in buses on Thursday, the day of the meet around noon. There's a distance session that evening. If your swimmer's swimming in there, they'll compete in that. If not, they'll just get in and warm up with the team. We have the meals that are going to be catered at the hotel, which makes it a lot easier. It's just a matter of showing up. They'll have the catering stuff out there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then the swimmers are grouped in rooms with 2 or 3 other athletes of the same gender. Generally, younger swimmers, we put more. Older swimmers and bigger kids, we put less with those. We will be asking for some chaperones after the needs are assessed. So after we get the commitments here tonight, tomorrow we should be able to see what those numbers are and where we need the chaperones to help. There's a couple of different ways of chaperones. One is just supervisory chaperones. We group you up with 8 to 10 kids, and you kind of follow along with them the whole trip. The second is snacks and helping out with food. It's pretty easy this year because all we have is the snacks. We don't have to worry about the meals, but the snacks. Snacks are just the little crackers and things and drinks that go with the kids before they go to the pool. Just lining those up. And then the third one is an emergency chaperone, someone that if there is an emergency that they would be willing to use their own car to take the injured athlete or a sick athlete to the doctor, whether it's the emergency room or first care there. Bus returns on Sunday following finals. We'll have a little pizza at the swimming pool, and then we'll depart from there. Why does OCCS not compete in other meets that are on the PBS site? So you'll see there are literally hundreds of swim meets going on at Potomac Valley Swimming, and then on top of that, there's thousands of meets that go on all over the United States. So we do go to some of those meets. However, for us to bring in a certain number of swimmers, sometimes we can be too large to get into there. And also, we've been in a situation where we have not been accepted into a meet, and then we've been scrambling around to try to find the opportunity for us to swim. So us being able to host the meets that we do, especially early in the season, is giving us a lot of flexibility. Obviously giving us the opportunity to swim in all the events that are in USA Swimming, and kind of set that foundation for the year. But as the season goes on, you'll see more of those teams at our meets, and we'll also be at more of those other meets. But yeah, each one of those meets has a different route and different thing that they offer. So we find that we want to get these foundational competitions done, or foundational racing opportunities done early in the season, and then as the season goes, we look to be bigger and better with the bigger competitions then. Eastern Zone. So again, kind of relating to the Florida trip. Eastern Zone meet is a meet in August each summer at the end of the long course season. It's a meet that's meant to be an all-star team from Potomac Valley Swimming to compete with other LSCs, local swim committees from the Eastern Zone. So Potomac Valley Swimming swims against Virginia Swimming, Middle Atlantic Swimming, which is in New Jersey, but also New Jersey Swimming, Metro Swimming, which is New York, all the way up to Maine and out to Allegheny area. So all those LSCs bring their top swimmers. Some support it more than others. Some are all in and go with a lot of team support. Others, it's kind of a mishmash of what goes now. The drawbacks, like we talked about a little bit in the past, is that swimmers travel with other coaches, not OCCS coaches. So they're traveling with brand new people, brand new coaches, and sometimes that's a good opportunity for them to learn something new, but it also disconnects them a little bit with what they've been working with for the whole year. This last year, the meet was August 8th to the 11th. So we had an opportunity to go to the Florida meet a weekend earlier, which gives families a little bit more time to have a family vacation, things like that. The other limitation there, and this is one of the reasons why we like the Florida meets, is they offer a lot of bonus events. So kids aren't just traveling and spending the $800 to $1,000 to travel to swim 1 or 2 events, but they get the bonus events. Eastern Zone doesn't have the bonus events. It's only what you qualify for, which is what you get to swim. All right, USA Club Excellence Program. What does it take to become a gold standard? What are we doing to get there? Great question. We talk about this a lot as a coaching staff in ensuring that we are providing out the environment to be able to get to this level. What it is, the USA Swimming Club Excellence program is a scoring based on the PowerPoints for swimmers that are 18 and under that have achieved as a minimum the Winter Junior National times in long course meters. So they have to qualify for a meet that's coming up in December. It's going to be in Greensboro in long course meters. We have swimmers with these times. This year we were higher than we've been in a little while. And we're just off being a bronze level team. So it's based on just those swims of just those swimmers that have the USA Swimming Winter Junior National cuts, but they have to be in long course meters, which is why we put a lot of emphasis on competing at the long course championship meets and whatnot throughout the summer. We're working towards helping swimmers develop the training and skills to qualify to compete through, and we do this through commitment to attending training. Again, attendance requirements. We know that the more that swimmers come to practice, the more opportunity we have to help develop them. High level training and coaching. We're constantly not just working as a staff internally, but we're working with other teams and other coaches and other organizations to learn how to best utilize what we have, our facilities, our training modalities and things like that to be able to offer to the kids. And then obviously, it seems like a cliche, but it is. It is the fact, and it's kind of the grind of every day we are going out there and doing everything we can to help these kids and inspire the kids and motivate the kids and help the kids learn all the different things at all the different levels to have the potential to be able to get to that level. And just as a baseline, usually takes about 3 to 4 athletes with 2 to 3 events each qualified at that level to be able to rank among the top teams there at the bronze, silver, or gold levels. How are relays chosen? So the question had come up that there were some kids left off of certain sites, if that was the case, and there was reasons for that other than the statistics, certainly apologize for that. The first 2 meets we did offer some fun meets. They were chosen based on times specifically from those meets. They were set as 8 relays to be ranked as close as possible. So for that first meet, it was we took the freestyle time, the 20 or 25 freestyle times or 50 freestyle times. We ranked everybody. We had 8 relays, so there was 4 swimmers per relay, 1 to 32, and we just round robin chose the kids to try to create 8 relays that can compete against each other. It was just a fun relay to put together. It was based on specific times, so it was based on the times from that meet. The next weekend, we did the medley relays, and we did the same thing. We based it on the times from the weekend before. So to answer the question, we don't pick relays based on site or group. They're based strictly on the statistical facts we have at the time. Before the meet coming up, we have meets with swim meets or with meets with relays. Before the meet, they'll be put in based on the current times. So we'll situate those based on their times they have at the time we put the entries in. At the meet, they may be adjusted. If swimmers have a time that outperforms another at that time, at that meet, whether it's the day before or that day, we're always looking to create the most competitive relays. So we don't base them on site or groups or anything. It's strictly based on times. We're trying to put together the most competitive relays as possible, with the exception of those first relays, which is just to get the kids to compete. Because there was no other teams there, we wanted to create 8 relays that were racing against each other, and they ended up pretty close. Actually, it was kind of fun. Why do we prioritize IMX as a team? What's the value to the swimmers? Great question, and something that we put a lot of thought into and reason for. The IMX program, which is the Individual Medley Extreme program, is and I should have put the definition of it, or should have put the lineup of this. For 12 and under, or for 10 and under athletes, it uses the times or the scores from the events of the 200 free, 200 IM, 100 fly, 100 back, and 100 breast. For the 11 and 12s, instead of the 200 free, it's the 500 free. And then for the 13 and overs, it is the 500 free, the 200 fly, 200 back, 200 breast, 200 IM, and then a 400 IM also. So it's a great way to promote swimming all 4 strokes. It's a great way to show and get the kids to buy into doing some training to be able to swim the longer distances. And what is the value to swimmers? I think we're looking long term and what this offers them as a potential collegiate athlete. Colleges are looking for 3 events. There's 3 events they can swim at their conference championship, 3 individual events. And for someone that comes into the team, if they're only good at just one stroke, 100 fly and the 200 fly, or if they're only good at one distance, the 100 fly, the hundreds or whatever, it can be limiting with what they can offer the team. So we're trying to get the kids to buy into doing all the strokes, set a foundation. We've also had a lot of kids, as an 8 and under, they may be really strong at backstroke, and that's like their best stroke. And then when they turn 10, all of a sudden they're a great breaststroker. And then when they're 11, all of a sudden their butterfly comes up. And then when they're 16, they're a 100 freestyler, and those things change all the time. But it also gives them things to work on when swimmers or athletes, swimmers or coaches try to specialize too early. It does limit the ceiling of what they can offer on a long term there. So that's why we value this and we prioritize it. It is a great way to highlight all that swimming offers and the lessons that come along with that too. What happens at the Fall Festivus is different from the last meets, kind of related to the earlier question. It's just a bigger meet, just that it's at Freedom Center. There'll be 2 courses going on. So, and this is contingent on the number of swimmers that show up, but generally it's a pretty big meet. We have a girls pool and a boys pool going on at the same time in 8 lanes. They're swimming widthwise. So there's a lot of things going on there, and should be some other teams showing up and having some competition there. But the biggest difference is that based on the last meets that were specific events were offered, basically all the events are offered at this meet. So swimmers will see that there's a choice of a lot of different events, and based on talking to their coaches assigning events to do, that's the choice that everybody will have to what they want to swim. Where in the past it was everybody swims all these 5 events. Now there's a lot of choices in there if kids are ready for the longer races or one of these shorter races and whatnot. How do we confirm which days our child will be swimming at the Winterfest? Events should be in by now. I haven't looked closely, but they were supposed to be in by tonight. So hopefully those are input in there. And if not, I'll double check those in the morning before I send them to the meet hosts. On the entry for the meet, you should be able to see the date there, the day of the meet, what session it is, and just note that day 1 is Thursday. I don't think it says Thursday on there, but day 1 is Thursday, and that's just some distance events that happen. All right. We'll go into some coaching questions, some things that just about how coaches operate, but also how we as an organization utilize our coaching staff throughout the program. One question is, and this probably should have been in swim meet stuff, but it's here. Does OCCS prioritize club swimming over high school swimming? If so, does that affect college recruiting? There certainly is a benefit of both swimming in club and high school. However, the training progressions, when a swimmer starts with us in September, are lined up to be able to peak and swim at their highest level at the championship meets that we offer. Now, sometimes that can align with some of the high school swimming, but sometimes also there's conversations that have to be had to say, here's a meet that we want to focus on as an athlete with the coach. And generally speaking, I'll give you what the National Training Group does. First of all, the early season meets are meant to be opportunities to get up and race and practice, right? We don't want them to miss the training, though, the training progression that we are on as a program in working towards us. So we don't want the kids to miss practices. We don't want them to rest that morning because they want to get a faster time or they're competing against their best friend and things like that. We want to stay on track to be able to be successful throughout the month of February and January, February, and March as we go through the rest of the short course season here. So it becomes a priority to make sure that the training stays up and that we're not constantly focusing on the next high school swim meet. Because here's what happens is that swimmer has a swim meet on Friday night, so they want to not swim at club practice, at OCCS practice on Friday, so they can rest for it. So they miss that practice, and then they stay up until 12 o'clock at night after the high school meet, and they don't want to come to Saturday morning practice, so they miss that practice. All of a sudden, they miss those 2 practices, and that's for some of the groups, that's 20% of the practices that are offered to the program. And especially those weekend practices get a little bit longer. So you could be missing a larger portion. And when you miss 20% of practices over the course of 4 or 5 weeks, you're missing a whole week, and that can be detrimental. So certainly want to talk with your swimmer's coach and make sure that there's a clear understanding of coming to practice. And if there's a meet that they want to focus on, then that just needs to be communicated with the coach so that they can get a little bit of rest there. The college recruiting for swimming is mainly about times, and relate this to how colleges and how this affects college recruiting. So whether those times are earned at a high school meet or earned at a club meet, they are, especially since they're already registered with USC Swimming, it will be an official time for them to show to a college that there's results. And again, high school swimming allows 2 individual events. So again, the OCCS meets, and a lot of meets are offering a lot of different events to be able to compete over a longer period of time. So a college coach is going to see that as more endurance to be able to compete in multiple events throughout the course of a weekend. All right, so let's move on. Is there, and this is with the coaches again, is there a curriculum, a process for the coaches in teaching the strokes? And yes, we meet early in the season, and we meet regularly and talk about a lot of these things together as a coaching staff, especially the lead coaches that are full time in the program. We do have a full manual of training and teaching. It's all based on the knowledge that all of us have and all of us have built up over the course of time from other programs, from USA Swimming, from International Swimming Coaches Association, American Swimming Coaches Association, certainly our experiences and whatnot. This is all passed on to the coaches to teach. There's progressions for each of the strokes. There's progressions on how to get kids to train at certain levels, going from learning how to swim a 50 to learning how to swim 1,000 to the mile. The one thing that we do allow, and I think every swim team in the country would say the same thing, is that entrusting your staff to bring their own experiences and certainly their own personalities is what makes us different and what makes a program different in terms of one site to another site. So yes, there are some differences in how they present things, the delivery, but there's the foundation of things that we are teaching and what we're trying to focus on throughout the course of the season, different times, is very consistent with throughout the program now. Is there a metric for coaches regarding the progression of swimmers? A great question. We're constantly, as coaches, watching and using the swimmers' training time and competitions to measure the progress. And although we aren't necessarily, we may not look like we're talking to the kids, when we're standing there on the pool deck and watching, there are so many things that are going through our minds with what's going on, with whether it's their technique or whether it's their pacing or whether it's their attitude or their drive. There's so many things that we're trying to judge on what's going on. At the top level, we're counting kicks, with breakout times, dives, stroke rates, distance per stroke, much more to see the progress in the training. So there's a lot of very specific things that we start to do at the higher levels because it does become a lot more specific to each athlete with what they're training towards, but also the small changes can make the biggest difference at that level. At the beginning level, working on just retention of the skill. There's a lot of repetition that goes on. There is the component of training and being able to do something over and over again shows that the kids are picking up on some of those skills. And then the training that happens and the coachability that we want to have the kids have. We certainly want the kids to be able to be receptive. We talk about the open mindset and being able to take feedback and use it. We're trying to teach the kids how to do that, and the retention of skills is a big part of that, and watching them retain those things throughout that. And then finally, the times. Obviously, times provide a lot of information, and it's generally all that swimmers and parents see is just the times. You got better, you got worse, how you compare to everybody else. But as we are coaching, we're looking at a lot of different things based on specifically what that athlete is doing and how they're progressing from practice to practice, from swim meet to swim meet, on doing the skills right or pacing right or whatever else it might be. And then there's other things that we were watching. Attendance. Obviously, we want to see the kids coming to more practices as they get older, and progressing from, coming to a couple of days of practice to coming to more practices throughout the course of their career per week. Endurance times. We do some time swims. We do some sets that show us kind of baseline of where they start at in the beginning of the season and where they're progressing throughout the course of the season, to make sure that the training adaptations are being met, and then sprint times and the tolerance to be able to hold that speed over time. So it's another way that we show and we can see their progression throughout the season and how their bodies are able to adapt and hold on to speed as their bodies start breaking down. This was an interesting question. What is the coach's pledge to their group and team? And it was based on the head coach and also the assistant coach. And I'm not exactly sure where this was going, but I will share with you what I expect and what the coaches kind of sign as what their obligations are for practice each day. So this is taken from the coach's handbook and their responsibilities. And first of all is be prepared for every practice and develop swimmer skill and fitness. Provide a safe environment for every swimmer to be welcome and encouraged to achieve greatness. Be an inspiration, an example, leader to instill the lessons, training, and focus to the group team. Be polite and courteous to the parent members. Be available to talk to parent members about their swimmer. Keep long-term goals in mind with short-term development, and promote a positive environment for every swimmer to be inspired and want to swim, want to come and be a part of the group. Other stuff, and I'm just going to free fire on these things because there's some real quick things to update on. Coaches' bios, and actually, I'll be honest, I didn't even realize they weren't up there or had not been updated. So we'll work on that. There's 3 things that came up with the facility here at Central Park. Can we repaint the directional arrows? Can the lighting be fixed in the parking lot? And can we add speed bumps to the parking lot? The parking lot, and this is kind of a public service announcement. Please, please, please drive slowly. I know we have some people in there that aren't us that drive through there and don't follow necessarily the guidelines of driving slowly, but do certainly please drive slowly and go in a, oh my gosh, I always get this wrong. So you're going to be going a counterclockwise rotation to get in there. So stay to the right at all times as you're coming into the facility. That way there's not 2 cars on the one side going to opposite directions. But with that being said, the owners of the facility, Aqua does not own this facility. We have a long-term lease with them for usage, but the owners are responsible for this, and I will pass these on to the owners in hopes that those things will be taken care of soon. Is OCCS going to have a Christmas party or holiday party? As a full team, we had not planned on that, but if there's someone that would like to put something like that together, we can certainly do something like that. I think it'd be great to have 500 people on one spot to celebrate the holiday season, whatever that might look like. But otherwise, generally, all the groups kind of have their own little holiday parties to kind of get everybody together, all the friend groups and the training groups there. Another question is, why doesn't the social media and bulletin boards reflect the diversity of the team? Again, this is a point of information that I will look at and make sure that we are offering all the different levels and all the different groups and the diversity of the team on all of our bulletin boards and social media pages there. The last one there is, can Riptide Swim Shop be open regularly? And yes, there's been some issues with staffing, unfortunately, and I'm sure many of you have seen that. You come into the facility and it's closed and you expected it to be open. We're working on that. We're onboarding some more new staff, and we're working on ways to integrate some of our staff that we have now to help keep it open on a regular basis. So we hope to be able to share more on that as we finalize the schedule there. I got 4 things that I didn't have time for, and these were deep questions, and I think they deserve a little bit more time to discuss and to talk about. So, first one is, why does our training not mimic college programs? Okay, I'll offer some feedback on that. Can we offer more long course training opportunities? And yeah, I'll also offer some opportunities or some talk on that. What is the criteria for moving groups? This is a big one too. I think just understanding all the different aspects that we're looking at different groups and different levels. I think it's an important topic to talk about. And then the fourth one is OCCS investing in the retention efforts of current staff or obtaining new coaches. And that's a pretty deep question as well that I'd love to dive into a little bit deeper, either through some of the messaging through the newsletter or doing this sort of format right here. So I'll hold on to those questions here and get back to you on those. A couple other things before we finish up. I do want to hear from you on a parent survey. And, a lot of times we hear about just the extremes, the really happy people or the really upset people on a survey. I would love to hear from everybody and as many people as possible to understand and learn from you what we are doing right, but maybe also some things that we need to improve on, and so things that perspectives that you have as a parent member that we could hit on better. So we'll be sending out a survey. It'll come on your email tomorrow. So watch for that, and please input your feedback. Should take only about 5 minutes there. Shouldn't take too long. Safe sport training, again, I can't emphasize this enough. I would love to see the whole team take part of this, but if we can at least get those 20 people so we can get that one check mark on being Safe Sport certified, that'd be fantastic. But certainly I would look into that, and if you and your spouse can do that, it would be fantastic. The Fall Fundraiser is going on, and really appreciate all the support we've gotten so far, and I hope that more of the team, just like with the volunteering, that we can disperse that a little bit and have everybody be a part of it a little bit to help the whole program out there. And then the Jiffy Lube interest form, that'll be coming out tomorrow as well. If you have interest in volunteering and using your time to offset and earn some money towards your account, fill out that interest form and you'll get more information on that. And last thing is deadline tonight for the Winterfest travel. Just make sure you get signed in for that. The deposit's due today. And then that will give us the numbers that we need for buses and vans and all that kind of stuff, and hotel rooms and everything there. Oh, one question I didn't answer that I remember came up is, why don't we advertise where we're staying in the hotel beforehand, before you sign up? And the reason for that is that a few years ago, we had a block of rooms at one hotel, and that block of rooms got taken after I told everybody where we're staying. Block rooms got taken by people that weren't on team travel, because the hotel didn't realize it, and they said, oh yeah, there's an Aquan swimming block here, I'll put you on there. So we didn't have enough rooms for the team travel to be able to stay there, and we had to split the team up into two different hotels at last minute. Second reason is that the people that are on the team travel are held to a lot of expectations. They have a lights out time. They can't enter into each other's rooms. We don't want to run in the hallway. And when we mix those rules with people that are staying on their own, and kids that maybe they just want to run up and down the hallway and they don't have any rules, and then they're entering kids' rooms that are on team travel, it creates kind of a messy situation of trying to keep everybody in the right place. Although we will probably have some rooms that we'll offer from our room block, and I'll share what that is here after we finalize the numbers that we need, and then we can open it up to more people to stay there. Just wanted to clarify that, because I know that was a question that came up, is the hotel. Why don't we share that and get a big block of people at the same hotel? Well, it's complicated. So anyway, I've taken a lot of your time today. I appreciate any of you that have stayed on this whole time. I can't tell what the numbers are, but hopefully you've gotten something out of this, and hope to be able to share this with a lot more people in the future here as a recording. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. And with that, I will see you soon on the pullback.